Perfect. 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 YouTube, what's good, man? It's your boy RB, and welcome back to the channel. Hope each and every one of y'all are having a great day. If you could, leave a like on the video, sub to the channel, show some love. It's a brand new year and a brand new decade, and we are going up. We're going to be dropping content, going crazy as always. First and foremost, I want to say Happy New Year to all my subscribers. Hope you all had a great holiday. If you know, I was away on vacation, so that is why I did not get to upload a video this past week for the Eagles against the Giants. Eagles clinching the division in Week 17 on the road. The sorry Dallas Cowboys going home. And I'm just going to speak on it for a second before we jump right into the big game this week. So against the Giants, it was a lot closer than I expected it to be. I thought we would win this, but, started out flat as we always do. What I saw was Carson Wentz, once again for the fourth week in a row, put the team on his back. Guys who weren't even in the NFL 5 weeks ago. Guys who didn't even know what the NFL was in the beginning of the season. These kind of guys Carson Wentz is putting on his back, answering the questions that needed to be answered this year. And now I don't think there's any room to hate on this man like everyone was doing when we still had Nick Foles. Carson Wentz has answered the questions. He is the franchise quarterback. Shout out to Carson Wentz, first quarterback in franchise history with 4,000 passing yards. He's also the first guy in NFL history with 4,000 passing yards without a wide receiver having over 500 receiving yards. That is completely insane. Boston Scott, 3 touchdowns. I mean, the guy is unreal. Big strip sack by Malcolm Jenkins. Fletcher Cox recovers it. And in the fourth quarter, we outscored them 17-0. We were on our way to clinching the division. The Dallas Cowboys, great performance against the Redskins, but it's all for nothing. Our Eagles going to the playoffs. I cannot believe it. In this terrible division, the Eagles really made it happen. We stepped back up when everyone doubted us, which is when we're at our best. And Carson Wentz put the team on his back, and we are on our way to the playoffs. So that gets us right into this week. Before we start this, comment down below who you think is going to win this game and leave a score prediction down below. I will be checking all of them. I want to see the balance of who thinks which team is going to win. Let me know down below. So, this week, the NFC Wild Card Weekend. Our Philadelphia Eagles, number 4 seed, matched up against the number 5 Seattle Seahawks, who lost against the 49ers this past week when, if they had won, they would have gotten a first-round bye and a home playoff game. However, they traveled to cold Philadelphia to take on our Philadelphia Eagles in a place that no one likes to play in the road on the playoffs. Let's just talk for a moment about the Seahawks and, just to kind of introduce this. A lot of people, pretty much everyone that I've seen is counting the Eagles out because, we have practice squad players. We're not as talented. We don't have the experience to play in the playoffs, right? Well, I think that's complete ridiculousness because what I've seen from this team the last 4 weeks, what I've seen from this team the last 3 years, this is now 3 years in a row with a miracle run, you could say. I mean, 2017, we had the record, but, everyone counted us out before Nick Foles went on that playoff run. Last year, guys going down left and right. This team finds a way into the playoffs, and Nick Foles saves us again. This year, instead of Nick Foles, it's Carson Wentz who puts the troops on his back and carries us to the promised land in a terrible division. A couple weeks ago in Miami, the season was pretty much over. I said it myself, but the Dallas Cowboys handed it right back to us, and Carson Wentz started to trust in these boys. The Eagles are a hot team right now, one of the hottest in the NFL, and if I was an opposing team, going up against the Eagles, who have nothing really to lose at this point, I think this is a win-win for the Eagles. Honestly, I'll start with that. If we lose this game, we're already being counted out. No one expects us to go anywhere with this talent. But like I said a few videos ago, it is essential for Carson Wentz to get his first playoff experience. This is crucial in his career going forward. He needs to understand, everything that goes into a playoff game, the preparation, especially in a home crowd. I think this is going to be very beneficial for Carson, even if we, get blown away, even if he comes out flat. I feel like going forward, this experience will really help him. I don't know if there's too many other guys I would take over Wentz at this moment in time. I mean, the throws he's making, the way he's picking up his teammates around him, it's unbelievable what Carson Wentz is doing right now. And, these guys on SportsCenter and stuff continue to count him out, continue to say that, he's still not accurate. He's beating the worst teams in the league. That's true. But in the NFL, it's hard to win a game. And Carson Wentz is doing it with pretty much nothing right now. He's making something out of nothing. If we look at the Seahawks, on the other hand, my initial thoughts is that, this team, they're not nearly as banged up as the Eagles. I mean, this has been even worse. The Eagles, everyone on this team has gone down. Everyone. Pretty much. And still we find a way in. But if we look at Seattle, they're also banged up. They're down to like their third or fourth string running back. They just signed Marshawn Lynch last week because they have no one left. This team is banged up as well. And Seattle, they started off really, really strong. I thought they were going to go deep into the playoffs this year, originally. And, they started off crazy. Russell Wilson has had a great season. He's having an MVP caliber season. Until the game, maybe when we played them earlier in the year, around that time, Wilson started to die off just a little bit. Seahawks started to cool off. And going down this last stretch of the season, I feel like the Seahawks have just been inconsistent, and they lost 3 of their last 4. Coming into the playoffs, they almost lost all 4. And the teams they've lost to, it kind of gives me some hope. They lost to the Rams. They lost to the Arizona Cardinals. Remember that stinker a couple weeks ago? They almost lost to the Carolina Panthers. And then the 49ers last week. They're kind of backing their way into these playoffs, if I'm being honest. The Seahawks don't look too strong right now. And the Eagles, on the other hand, have won 4 straight. I know it's against the worst teams in the NFL, blah, 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 blah. But the Eagles are hot. These guys coming out of nowhere want the opportunity to prove what they can do, and they're taking full advantage of it, and we are hot right now, and I wouldn't put anything past this team. Carson Wentz, 4,000 passing yards this year, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Russell Wilson, on the other hand, 4,100 yards, 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 3 more touchdowns in terms of rushing. So both have had great years. Obviously, Russell Wilson, has been the leader of that Seahawks team for years. He's a lot more experienced now. He understands, the trials and tribulations of an NFL season. Russell Wilson has been consistent, and he's one of those guys that you can never doubt. You can never just count him out. I mean, he makes plays. To me, is the best deep ball in the NFL, and Russell Wilson really is a game changer when it all comes down to it. Carson Wentz is going to have a big game this weekend. He's going to have to do what he's continued to do. Now, I don't think he could come out flat in the first half like he has these previous weeks, but he's going to have to step up, make big-time plays in big situations. He's going to have to get these guys up. These young guys haven't been in a playoff situation. It's a different scenario than a regular season game. They know everything's on the line, and they're going home if they don't advance. I feel like the defensive guys, the veterans that have helped this team win a Super Bowl, that have been through this the last 2 years, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Malcolm Jenkins, they're going to have to make an impact on defense. Make a difference from the first snap of the game. They're going to have to get in there, get pressure, throw Russell Wilson on different looks. That comes a lot down to Jim Schwartz, our defensive coordinator. I think in games this year where, he's played man coverage and he's blitzed, he's been aggressive, his defense has played so much better. Sometimes he reverts to zone defense because, he's scared of getting beat on the deep play. And Russell Wilson is certainly a guy that can beat you on the deep play. However, I feel like you have to go with what you have. This team is decimated. We're counted out. All these injuries. I feel like Jim Schwartz really just has to send the blitz a lot. And I feel like we have to play man coverage, have the safeties to help and everything, but we can't play zone against Russell Wilson. He's too smart of a quarterback. He will pick us apart down the field, waste the clock, and score touchdowns. You have to send pressure and give him different looks. And this is similar to what he did earlier in the year when we played the Seahawks. I know we lost the game 17-9. Defense played a hell of a game, and Carson Wentz played terrible. That was that little stretch where Wentz was not playing good and the defense was. Everything wasn't clicking together, but the different looks that he threw at Russell Wilson, really had him off guard all day. But Carson Wentz is going to have a huge game, like I said, and the way he performs in his first playoff game, he can really win over an entire city. I feel like he's already been doing that these last couple weeks, but if he were to somehow find a way to pull this one off, Carson Wentz is going to finally gain some of the respect he's been deserving the last few weeks. If we look at the running back situation, I feel like that's also, another area that you really have to focus in on. The Seahawks, Chris Carson, their main guy's hurt. Their second guy, Rashad Penny's hurt. CJ Prosise, I think he's hurt as well. I mean, they're down to their fourth string. They signed Marshawn Lynch. In his return last week, Lynch did not have a good game. I think he had 12 carries for 34 yards. However, I would not count out Marshawn Lynch in this game. I feel like at any single time, that man can have a huge impact on a game. We've seen what he's done in the playoffs years ago, especially that one game against the Saints where, that one famous carry where he just couldn't get brought down. I feel like even though Marshawn Lynch is rusty, he hasn't played in a while, this man can really, make an impact. And at any time, he can break off for one. So you really have to keep him in check. I feel like the Eagles' defensive line, the front four, has done such a good job on different running backs, Saquon, Zeke, etc. It's going to start with them. You have to make Wilson win the game by throwing the ball. You cannot let him run. In terms of the Eagles running backs, Miles Sanders, he's limited in practice. We're not sure. He said he's good to go. So I hope he'll, be the fresh Miles Sanders we've seen. He's had an unbelievable year. He wasn't getting as many snaps in the beginning of the year. He was learning, the ins and outs of the NFL. Miles Sanders has 818 rushing yards and 509 receiving yards. He's had a heck of a rookie year, and I see him as a huge part of this Eagles team going forward. And just the impact he's had in these last weeks, I mean, Miles Sanders is playing out of his mind right now. Jordan Howard has been cleared to return. I'm not sure whether he's going to get many snaps this week, no snaps, or what, or how they're going to use him. Maybe use him in a red zone situation, a 3rd and 1. I'm not sure. Does he have his legs under him? Is he fresh? There's a lot of questions there. I think Jordan Howard's use in this game should depend on whether Miles Sanders is healthy. If Sanders is healthy, I don't anticipate much of Jordan Howard. Now, Boston Scott, this man is literally the second coming of Darren Sproles. Anytime this man has gotten, 15-plus carries in the last few weeks, he's taken advantage of it. Having Sanders and Scott as a duo in the backfield, these guys can do so much, whether it's running the ball, utilizing screens, doing play-action fakes, throwing it across your body, anything. These guys, once they get in open field, they're pretty much unstoppable. I think this game could really come down to how well we utilize our running backs, Sanders and Scott and maybe Jordan Howard. The receivers, we already know. Seahawks, they have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Those are the main two guys. Metcalf burned us earlier in the year. He might burn us again, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised. Those are the two main guys Russell Wilson goes to. If Jim Schwartz can find ways to, switch up the looks, switch up the matchups, keep those two guys under control, I feel really confident about this game. On the other hand, the Eagles, as we know, were playing with pretty much practice squad guys that weren't even in the NFL weeks ago. Guys like Greg Ward, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, the new guy from last week that made a great catch, Deontay Burnett, didn't even know who he was. Rob Davis, Shelton Gibson. It's crazy who Carson Wentz is playing with right now. But these guys are getting open. They're catching the ball. Tight ends as well. Zach Ertz. I don't know if he's going to play. And if he does, I don't know if he's going to be healthy. I give him credit for, trying to come back, working as hard as he is with a lacerated kidney, a broken back, a bruised rib. You go on, name whatever else. Dallas Goedert has also been an amazing tight end. I think he has a great future, and even if Ertz can't go, or even if he's not healthy, I'm confident in Dallas Goedert. These guys are going to be crucial in this game. The offense has to be clicking. We have to continue to move. Guys can't have mental mistakes. It can't happen if you want to win a playoff game in the National Football League. So Doug has been prepping these guys well, and I expect him to continue to do the same thing. Pete Carroll, we know he's an established NFL head coach. He knows what he's doing. He's going to come in with a certain game plan. And if he designs a great game plan this game, utilizing everyone, getting people different touches, doing pre-snap motions, keeping things off guard. And if Carson Wentz steps up, I really feel like this game could lean towards the Eagles. I don't think I mentioned this, but the Eagles do enter this game as a 1.5 point underdog. But in terms of the football power index, the Eagles have a 60% chance to win this game. I don't really get that. All I know is that the Eagles are an underdog, and these are the type of situations in which we strive best. Go back to 2017, the underdog masks. Last year, it was the ski masks. It's like when the Eagles, when all eyes are shifted off, when all the focus is shifted on how the other team should win the game, when they should advance, and everyone forgets about the Eagles, says we're too decimated, says we can't do anything. The Eagles find a way to prove everyone wrong. Earlier this year, when we lost in Miami and we're sitting at 5-7, everyone said the Eagles were out, but somehow Doug continues to find ways to galvanize these troops and get them to play for each other. Last year, we were out of the count. Somehow, Nick Foles comes back and leads this team to a win in the last game of the season, and Minnesota chokes, and he leads us to the playoffs. We go and we beat Chicago on a 4th and 1 to Golden Tate rolling out, and a double doink miss by Cody Parkey. And we almost took down the Saints in the NFC Championship with no one. 2 years ago, Carson Wentz gets hurt, and we're sitting at 12-2. Nick Foles comes in looking rusty, goes into the playoffs. We win against Atlanta on the last play of the game. We go, Minnesota comes to Philly, and we stomp them, and then we beat New England in the Super Bowl. And all this time, the Eagles are underdogs. When they count us out, we're at our best. That's going to be the quote that I stick by. When they count us out, we are at our best. The Seahawks are backing their way into the playoffs, and the Eagles have caught fire at the right time. I feel like this Eagles team is just a resemblance and, goes even further than the last couple years. Everyone is hurt on this team. I don't understand how they've gotten here. But somehow, some way, they are. And these guys have a chance to do something special, and they're going to continue to go how they've been. And if they were to pull this one off against Russell Wilson, I know Russell Wilson's 4-0 against the Eagles. Actually, I have a funny, couple funny things here that I saw on Twitter. Shout out to this Twitter page, Eagle Fan Probs. It says the last time the Eagles beat the Seahawks, CenturyLink Field, which is the Seahawks field, was named differently in Quest Field. The Phillies just won their World Series parade. Carson Wentz didn't even have a driver's license. Miles Sanders was a 6th grader, and Todd Herman, shout out Todd, caught a touchdown pass. That's the last time the Eagles beat the Seahawks, right? It's like we have no chance in this game, right? When our backs are to the wall, this team plays at their best, and it's been 3 years in a row now. It's unbelievable how Doug has rallied these guys around each other and how they continue to get up. Seattle, second to last in sacks in the league, which is surprising to me, especially, when they go out and trade for a guy like Jadeveon Clowney. Seahawks corners aren't that good to me. Decent. Eagles, our cornerback group, decent. I just think the matchups aren't as far apart as everyone is saying they are, honestly. One of the biggest things about this game that I feel the Eagles really have, an advantage in is home field. Like I said, everything changes at the link, especially in the playoff games we saw 2 years ago. It is just different. The Eagles fans bring the energy every single game. We go on the road, whether it's on the road or at home. These Eagles fans make a difference, and the players have said it themselves, and the energy is rocking. I know Seattle's like 7-1 on the road. They're a lot better team on the road, but these Eagle fans bring life to this team. And if we were to win this one, go on to play Green Bay or San Fran, you never know what could happen. But we have to take this one. I also heard that, if the Eagles were to go on and win this game, Deshaun Jackson most likely returns next game. So does Lane Johnson. Maybe some of these other guys that have been hurt. Having D-Jax back would that stretch the field? I would think a lot different about this team's chances. If they were to win this game and Deshaun Jackson comes back, we'll save that for next week, if there is a next week. But I'm telling you, this team could be dangerous. With the way these guys are playing right now, inspired, heart. It's not always about the team with the most talent. Anyone will tell you that. It's about who catches fire at the right time and who plays the hardest. And I see that from this Eagles team right now. All right, so my 3 keys to winning this game. This is what I really feel will decide whether the Eagles move on to the divisional round or whether they go home and start prepping for the offseason. Number 1, contain Russell Wilson. This defensive line, like I said, has to have a big impact. They have to bring pressure in different looks, in different situations, things that Russell Wilson wouldn't expect. You can't let him control the clock, run the tempo on us. You got to bring pressure from outside. You have to get around those tackles. You can't let Russell Wilson continue to scramble out because, especially with the Seahawks running game, how it is, how decimated that is, Russell Wilson, if no one's open, he's going to look to continue to run on this team. And when he gets moving, this guy was drafted in the MLB as well. He can move, okay? He can break off a 20 or 30-yard run at any time. So I think our defensive linemen, these guys, Super Bowl champions, have been through this situation for years. Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett, Fletcher Cox, list goes on. They have to get pressure, and that starts with Jim Schwartz being aggressive. Like I said, he has to blitz. He has to play man coverage. We can't play 10 feet off our men. We have to stay on their guys, and this front 4 has to get pressure. Number 2, we have to win the trenches game. This kind of goes on to that point, but not just on the defensive line. They have to get pressure and keep him uncomfortable, but the offensive line. Lane Johnson is out for this week at least. Brandon Brooks is out for the rest of the season. He got hurt last week. Something with his shoulder, I think. He was carted off. It's sad because Brooks has been one of the most underrated offensive linemen here. He does his job week in and week out. He's a Pro Bowler to me, and he's been well worth what we signed him for years ago. He's unbelievable. You never hear his name. He usually lets no one buy him. So for him to be out, we're going to have Matt Pryor and Vaitai on the right side. Both could be liabilities to me. Vaitai, he played great in the playoffs 2 years ago on that run when Jason Peters was hurt. But recently, Vaitai is still getting beat. These guys have to give Wentz time to either scramble out, see the field, make a throw. Because when Wentz is under pressure, we know sometimes he has lapses and he doesn't do smart things. These guys have to give Wentz time. And they have to allow him to scramble. Because Pete Carroll, those guys over there love to blitz. And they have the personnel to do so. And we can't risk Wentz getting banged up early in the game. So on defense and offense, on the lines, up front, both teams banged up, both teams not too strong. I think it's really essential to win the trenches. We have to stop the Seattle run and force Wilson to make plays and continue to bring pressure on him. I feel like a big component of this game is winning in the trenches. And then number 3, my biggest one, big players making big plays in big situations. And it starts with Carson Wentz. Like I said, it all revolves around him. First playoff experience. The guy who can't stop getting injured. The guy who got us to the postseason, but it's not his Super Bowl. It's Nick Foles. Well, the tide has turned in Philadelphia. We thank Nick for what he's done, but there is no more Nick. It's Carson Wentz's team. We paid him to be the man this year. We paid him to stay healthy to this point in the season, and he has. And he's gotten better, and he's caught fire. Carson Wentz is the guy who's going to win this game for the Eagles. He has to step up like he has the last 4 weeks. Make big plays in big situations. Make big throws. Throws that only guys like him can make in this league. He can't have mental lapses. He can't lose the ball in big situations late in the fourth. He has to scramble out, make things out of nothing, give guys time to get open and make the throws. He can't have stupid overthrows or throws in the dirt. Wentz has to make big plays in this game, and he has to put the guys on his back. Once again, trust in them and win this game. Guys, whether it's defensive line, just like last week, getting that strip sack, Malcolm Jenkins, maybe an interception, a turnover, a special teams punt return, a kick return. Guys have to step up in this game. Russell Wilson is a big-time player, but if Carson Wentz and these other guys make big plays, if Boston Scott comes out of nowhere, breaks off a 50-yard run, Or on a 3rd and 8 when we need a first, if Greg Ward goes up and makes a 20-yard catch. It all comes down to the big plays and big situations. Yes, we have to have a sound football game. But I think whoever makes the plays in crunch time will win this game. It's as simple as that. I understand that these guys are inexperienced and that these guys haven't been around for a while. But the way they've been playing, they've been stepping up when they need to. And I really feel that in this game, someone is going to have to step up. A receiver might have to go for over 100 yards. A running back, Sanders, Scott, Howard, they're going to have to break off for a big game. We can't play mediocre. We can't let one guy getting clamped up mean that another guy can't step up. Dallas Goedert, Deontay Burnett, for crying out loud. Someone is going to have to step up and make big plays. Wentz is going to have to do his part, but these other guys are going to have to help him continue to get open. On defense, we have to continue to apply the pressure, whether it's a big sack or a big interception or whatever. Like I said, the big-time moments before half, late in the game, we're going to have to step up and make more big plays than Seattle does. This Eagles team has a solid chance at winning this game. And if they can and get some of these guys back going forward, there's no saying what we can do. But I really feel like this is going to be a close game. Getting to my score prediction, I'm calling Eagles 26, Seahawks 21. I think it's going to be on the more low-scoring side to begin with. I think it'll heat up in the fourth quarter, and it's going to be loud and rocking at the link. And I think the defenses are going to have to step up big. I think our offensive guys, being so young and inexperienced, are going to get off to a slow start. But when they catch fire like they have, they're going to have to keep it rocking and rolling. I think in the fourth quarter, both teams probably score a couple times. I think the Eagles go up with, maybe 5-6 minutes left. And I'm calling this similar to the Atlanta game a couple years ago. I think Eagles up 26-21. Seahawks have one last chance to come down, either score to win or get stopped and go home. And I think the Eagles defense makes a huge stop with just a minute or two left, maybe in the red zone, just like they have for years now. And I think we make the biggest stop of the season. We don't allow Russell Wilson to get into the end zone, and the Eagles win this game and move on to the NFC divisional round. I really feel like the Eagles will win this game with how they've been playing and everything I've been seeing. This team is motivated. They have heart. This team, being counted out by everyone, does their best. I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm so pumped for this game. The Philadelphia Eagles can continue to make history and make a difference and make a name for themselves and get some respect this week. We're here now. We want to keep going forward. We want another win. Fly, Eagles, fly. Comment down below your score predictions for this game. These boys just find a way to make it happen. I can't believe what I'm seeing before my very own eyes. I don't think a lot of you can either, but let's go in and get this dub this weekend. Knock off the Seahawks and continue to the next round. Let me get a fly, Eagles, fly down in the comments below. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you made it this far in the video, like the video, sub to the channel, show love. We're going to be coming crazy with the content. I appreciate each and every one of y'all so much. And I'll catch y'all after the game, man. Peace.